Lots of rows in recent weeks about free-to-air television, as it's so called. How many people, though, still are depending on the old-fashioned aerial on the roof or the rabbit's ears on top of the television set and don't have either UPC or Sky? Adrian Mertler from the Sunday Business Post, how many people do you think does that still apply to?
I think that it's a huge growing market for people who are avoiding Sky and UPC. A couple of years ago, there was a huge growth in illegal dodgy boxes where you plug them in to UPC's basic signal and got a lot more stations, illegally I might add. But there are legal alternatives. One of the most popular ones at the moment is just to buy your own satellite dish, buy your own receiver, point it at one of a number of satellites in the air, predominantly the FreeSat satellite that's funded by the BBC and ITV, get all those stations absolutely free and not have to pay any subscriptions at all.
And also then, how do you get your Irish channels?
You have to rely on your analog signal at the moment. You know, those you put up a small aerial. You can't get the Irish channels on that.
And when is that analog signal going to be switched off?
It's supposed to be switched off in 2 years' time.
That's not going to happen, though,
the government says that it will happen. RTE, as far as we can all see, have been left to sort of pick up the slack after what was basically a fiasco in terms of consortium after consortium taking up the license. And
three different operators who've been given the decided that it wasn't worth the while financially and just handed it back.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, in fairness to them, you can kind of see why it isn't, because there's such saturation of cable and satellite across Ireland. It's very hard to see how you'll make money out of charging 10, 15, 20 euro for, you know, a small package of channels, but that's the way it's gone.
Yeah, because it's estimated nearly 1 million subscribers are present to a paid satellite digital TV service, or they get it via cable or MMDS. So that doesn't leave much else, does it?
It really doesn't leave much else. You will always have a number of people who won't pay for it. They will pick up the analog signal, or they'll transfer to the DTT signal. But then there's another niche now, which is the DIY satellite market.
Tony Moore from satellite.ie. How are you?
Hi Matt, how are you? Thanks for having me in.
Are you in the dodgy box business?
I'm definitely in the dodgy box business. I'd be in prison otherwise.
All right, okay. What do you offer people?
We offer people the FreeSat service, which is basically, as Adrian just said, a one-off payment, and it gets you most of the UK channels via satellite.
Okay, what do you put a satellite dish up on people's roofs, is it?
We put a satellite dish up, not necessarily on the roof. It can be on a south-facing wall because that's the direction the satellite goes in. And it's a dish, a cable to your box, and you get all the free channels.
Okay, what free channels are available?
BBC ITV mainly, all the variations, 1, 2, 3 and 4. There's also channels like More 4, Film 4, some children's channels, quite a range of channels, over 130 at the moment.
130? And does it go further afield than British channels?
No, it's mainly UK service. The FreeSat is a branded UK service, so it tends to concentrate mainly on UK channels. The only exception to that would be something like CNN or another news channel.
Because there have been suggestions with all this rumbling at present about rugby rights, for example, that if you didn't want to watch them on Sky, you could watch them in French television, that they have all the matches on French free-to-air and you could pick that up on your satellite.
That is possible. Sometimes the satellite feeds tend to differ from the terrestrial French feed. So as Adrian said earlier, sometimes that is possible.
Sometimes, but you're not guaranteed it. I mean, is there a danger that you could invest in one of these and discover you're not able to pick up the stuff that you want?
Possibly. With the FreeSat service, you're pretty much guaranteed what the FreeSat service offers. But when you get to, French and German channels, sometimes there are variations between what's broadcast nationally in their own countries and what's broadcast on satellite, because it's a much further afield.
Okay, Adrian, have you had a look at these things?
Yeah, I mean, I should say that there is a long history of avoiding premium sports by investing in your own satellite equipment. Give you a few examples. If you buy a larger than average dish, say around 1 metre or 80 centimetres, because all of the satellites floating over us are floating in the same arc, they are the satellites that are broadcasting feeds from everywhere, from North Africa right through Europe, over as far as the Middle East. So, for example, around Dublin, you'll see an awful lot of very large grey satellite dishes that Russians and Polish expats use to get their television back. You can also buy subscriptions to foreign countries' sports channels to get, for example, all of the English Premier League matches for about €120 a year if you get the correct card for your receiver. So, in answer to your question about rugby and Heineken Cup, you can actually point your satellite to get a French television, to get France too, and you should be fine.
Okay. Tony, I want a couple of comments have come in by Facebook and by Twitter. I was going to have one here from Facebook. I recommend getting a UK FreeSat HD Plus box. Humax FoxSat is what it's called, is it?
Right.
It requires a satellite dish, but you can connect to an old Sky dish if you still have one on your house. It'll need 2 cable feeds if you want the live pause and recording functions. And after that, you just need to input a valid English postcode. This will decide what particular Seymour channel region you get. I'll be ITV London or UTV setup, and you're ready to go. This setup is BBC HD and ITV HD, both of whom are sharing all coverage of the World Cup. And don't forget HD television either. The box can be bought in Argos or Currys or any other electrical retailer up north for approximately 240 sterling. What do you make of that?
That's absolutely right. I couldn't put it better myself. But you don't have to go up north to buy it. If you want to pay VAT in Ireland, you can get it from a lot of retailers here too.
So it's widely available here in Ireland?
Yeah, we sell it on our website, satellite.ie, and there's a number of other retailers that'll sell it too.
And what sort of prices do you charge?
It's a little bit more than Northern Ireland price because of the VAT difference and also the fact that a lot of the wholesalers won't sell into Southern Ireland, so there's a premium on the wholesale price.
Okay, but I suppose with the way the euro's going against sterling, it's not as expensive as it may once have been. What about installing these?
Well, we have a video on our website showing you how to do a standard satellite system. So it is easy enough for some people to do it, but it really depends on your own skills.
Would you recommend people climbing up on their roof and the side of their house to try and attach it for themselves? I wouldn't be trying it anyway.
Absolutely not, and don't do anything obviously that's unsafe. But a lot of the times you can put on a south-facing wall, which is the direction of the satellite, because obviously it's above the equator. So you don't necessarily have to go up a roof, and height is not an issue with satellite dishes. As long as you have a clear line of sight to the equator, you're fine.
Okay, and if you were to have it installed, how much does it cost?
Our system's installed, official FreeSat starts at €239, including VAT.
What do you reckon of the different systems that are available in the market, Adrian? What's the best?
Well, as Tony was saying, FreeSat is probably the most popular because it's the one that most people sell. If you are willing, Lidl, for example, often sells its own satellite rigs.
Yeah, we have a tweet here saying that both the Aldi and Lidl stuff isn't necessarily great. The dishes can be poor.
That's not my experience. That's not what I have picked up in talking to a lot of different people. But fair enough. The bigger the dish you get, probably the better the chances of the strength of signal you'll get, particularly in areas of the kind. I know it sounds bizarre, but actually rain can sometimes interfere with the signal as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
Why is that?
Well, because the signal is attenuated, bear in mind the satellite is a couple of thousand kilometres away. If you have rain in between you and the satellite,
ash clouds as well.
Signal, yeah.
Yeah, we've one here. Father-in-law tried one in Carlow, but could only get Turkish channels. There's some value to professional installers. What would he have done that he could only pick up Turkish
He's
channels?
just pointing at the wrong satellite. I mean, if you have a small satellite meter, it'll tell you whether you have a satellite signal or not, but it won't tell you what satellite you're on. He just needs to adjust to a different satellite position.
And just is that in your video tutorial that shows people how to actually adjust the positioning of the satellite?
There is an element not a million miles away from the old system where you got up on the roof and tweaked the aerial and shouted down to somebody to see, have I got the picture yet? Have I got the picture yet? There is an element of that. However, yeah, I mean, particularly if you have a motorized system, a dish that actually will scan the various satellites on a particular arc, it should be able, you can actually program it to pick out certain satellites.
The HD ready, and what about 3D television? Will this be available on these particular dishes?
And not so far on free to air. 3D is only actually on Sky at the moment, and I'm not convinced that it's going to take off.
Why not?
Well, first of all, people don't like watching, having glasses on when they're watching it, and you don't really see the premium price being charged for the TVs. It's making it a big market runner. Maybe in the future when they're cheaper, but I don't think so right now.
What sort of demand is there for these FreeSat systems at present?
There's a healthy demand at present, but the biggest problem is people associated, as Adrian says earlier on, with the dodgy boxes. And I also think there's a catch somewhere that, this is sort of too good to be true. So, our big aim at the moment...
Are they afraid perhaps of lining them up with their existing aerials, that they're afraid of running a whole variety of cables as well?
Well, not so much that is because it'll work with an existing side dish. You just have to change the box. But people are afraid that maybe the channels will get knocked off in the future.
Does Sky not own your dish?
Sky will install the dish and you have it for a yearly contract. So once that yearly contract is up, the dish is yours.
And you just keep it. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, that's very interesting. Tony Moore from satellite.ie. Thank you for joining us. And Adrian Weckler, before you go,